Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Hello, Wanderers. The new teaser for Rings of Power came out yesterday. Honestly, given all the previous marketing and teasers, I've been growing more and more worried that this adaptation of Tolkien's world would be a cheesy disaster. But I've withheld judgment, taking a cautiously optimistic approach. Well, no longer. After this teaser, I am thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. Even my wife, who is by no means a deep Tolkien fan, said it felt like The Lord of the Rings. And then she asked me, but what did you see? And that's what I'll answer today. First, Galadriel speaks the opening lines, referencing a time before the sun. Then we see the two trees of Valinor. My jaw dropped in surprise when I saw that image. A visual representation of the trees has been guessed at for a long time, ever since the first picture was revealed. But this is the first live-action scene of them, and wow, it takes my breath away. If you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, you'll know that the tales of the first age all center around the light of these two trees, especially as the light was contained in Feanor Silmarils. If you need a refresher, listen to episode 2 of this podcast. My guess is that this scene is some sort of flashback or memory. I say that because the Rings of Power series takes place in the Second Age, and at that time the trees had been killed by Melkor, aka Morgoth, and the only elf in Middle-earth who had seen the two trees was Galadriel. Given that she's voicing over the scene, it's a fair bet that what we're seeing is one of her memories. Second, we see vast landscapes, from snow-capped mountains to green forests. These landscapes speak to me of the epic proportions of Tolkien's tales, and do justice to the panoramic landscapes from Peter Jackson's adaptations. These wide, sweeping shots show the vastness and enormity of the world, and contrasts how small it must feel to be a person in Middle-earth. One of these landscapes is a dwarvish kingdom, I assume Khazad-dûm. This mine was a bustling and mighty kingdom for the dwarves, producing not only gold, but the precious metal mithril. We've only ever seen the dwarf kingdoms in emptiness and decay, having been overrun by dragons or balrogs, so I'm excited to see what the dwarvish realm would have looked like in the days of its power, complete with waterfalls and green trees living under the earth. Right outside the western gates of Khazad-dûm was the region called Eregion, which was a powerful establishment for the elves, where Galadriel and Celeborn dwelt for a time, and also where Celebrimbor would forge the Rings of Power. We may assume that the elvish-looking buildings on the mountain slopes are part of Eregion. This area, too, would later be abandoned, and Elrond would gather what elves he could and establish Rivendell further to the north, though all the elves are diminishing. Also, later in the trailer we see the Kingdom of Numenor, which was the pinnacle of bliss and power for mortal men in Middle-earth. This depiction is also different from anything we've seen on screen before. The Kingdom of Gondor was a sad remnant of the great power held by the Kingdom of Numenor. And we have the hobbits, who come in the form of the Harfoots, who appear to be nomads, wandering around the lands of Middle-earth. This is much different than we've seen hobbits before, who in the Shire of the Third Age seem to be at the pinnacle of their power, which seems to be the epitome of comfort, abundance, and peace. So what I'm hoping we'll see is a contrast to what we've seen before. The hobbits in Rings of Power are not well established. They're about as opposite as one could be from having second breakfast by the hearth and blowing smoke rings on a good morning in the Shire. While the three main races, elves, men, and dwarves, have only been depicted in their most diminished states, but in the Rings of Power, they are powerful, mighty, and perhaps a little prideful, thinking the enemy is gone. And that assumption, that the enemy is gone, seems to be the main question that this teaser sets up. I love the interchange between Elrond and Galadriel, where Elrond is attempting to convince Galadriel to put down her sword and take a break. The lands are at peace. The Valar have pushed Morgoth, the Dark Lord, into the timeless void. The good guys have won, right? Well, Galadriel is not so convinced. She saw the light of the trees. She experienced the darkness before the first sunrise. She remembers the deadly and cold crossing of the ice in the north. She witnessed the travails of Beren and Luthien. She witnessed all the battles of the First Age, including the Battle of Sudden Flame, which it appears she might be remembering when she simply tells Elrond, "You have not seen what I have seen." What a deep statement, layered with meaning, from the only elf in Middle-earth who saw the light of the trees. Elrond is no stranger to evil, though. By my guess, he was roughly 60 years old at the time of the great battle that ended the First Age, but he seems to not understand the depths of the enemy's powers, as we see Gil-galad, High King of the Noldor, explaining to Elrond just how bad the darkness can be. And just to emphasize it, we see a shot of an orc army, with what appears to be a battering ram, led by a figure who reminds me of Marvel's Loki. But perhaps this is Sauron in his less menacing, more human form? The teaser seems to culminate in the impact zone of the meteorite from the last pre-teaser, and as the flames dim, it's not hard to imagine the eye of Sauron. I don't know, but I want to find out. And one last reaction. There's some dialogue that sets up a tension between the past and future. Looks like unrest in Numenor, and the dwarves are looking for new alternatives, as Durin is holding up something that looks like silver, maybe mithril. But honestly, my first impression was, that's a ring! That's one of the 7! Don't take it! Put it down and walk away! But again, it's not clear exactly what he's holding. I have to admit, in this 2.5-minute teaser, my faith in this series has been restored. Yesterday morning, when the teaser was released, my friend texted me asking if I had seen it. I responded, dude, wrong question. He then sent an edit. How many times did you watch it? Well, I've lost count now, but each time I do, I get more and more thrilled. As the final words of the song at the end of the trailer suggest, keep on wandering this wandering day. Thanks for listening. My friends, if you enjoyed this episode, let me know by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing with your friends. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Lore of the Rings Podcast. For feedback on the show, please email me using the link in the show notes. Until next Thursday, remember, not all those who wander are lost.